My name is Jahan Khamsehzadeh. I'll be teaching about spiral dynamics. Spiral dynamics is a model of development, a pattern of paradigms, levels of growth from human culture to the individual self. My interest in this is because when I was 18, I decided that most of our life is revolved around the decisions we make. And the decisions we make is based on the way we perceive the world. Because we can't make decisions of things we are not even aware of. Then I made a fundamental commitment to have the most accurate view of the world possible. Still continues to this day. I've ended up seeing it's a much harder commitment than I ever thought possible, because the way we see the world is continuously evolving. There is no actual physical, concrete view of the world. What we can do is build a model, a metaphor, and that's all they are. You might have heard the saying, the map is not the territory, and that stands. The experience of having a map and going through the streets of the city is not the same as actually walking through that city itself. In the same way, a model of human development, seeing it is not the same as actually going through the development. You might see the early stages, you might see where you are, and if we see where you're going, but you have to actually experience each stage and live it, flatten it out before moving to the next. The way I started in this, well, my view of what is reality has always been there. From kindergarten, I remember going to my teacher, bringing her a rock, and asking her, what is this rock made of? Later that come see, I'm still with all of matter. What is matter? What is reality? What is time? When I was 12 years old, my mom showed me a picture of a ghost. My grandfather was a medium. He was talking to a spirit. He asked it to manifest himself. Now I had actual evidence of a non-physical entity, but actual evidence. But I couldn't fit into my worldview. My schema could not hold that. I began to see that maybe I don't have an accurate view of what reality possibly is. 15, 16, I became very dualistic, very rational. I remember writing down that I can't trust my sensations. My visual, my hearing, they could be manipulated. They were like memories. They could be valuable. What do I trust them? My deep brain is like, I trust my thinking process. That's prime. Everything out here might be put in question. But I know I exist because I can say that. Same thing Descartes would say. His meditation is the first philosophy. I think, therefore I am. This view stuck for a while. I have an inner world and an outer world, but I don't know how they interact. And they're distinct. Later it comes to a little more of a non-dualistic framework. There's not an inner universe and an outer universe, but one universe that encompasses both. And that's what we are part of. There's synchronicity, there's connection. What happens inside affects what happens outside at the most foundational level. So it's a huge reason I came to JFK, because they have what's called a panpsychic view, which means matter itself is aware. It has interiority. There's fundamental awareness in the atom. And foundational, there might be an atom, then molecules, when they come together, and they grow in complexity to a cell. And as this happens, consciousness emerges, grows in complexity out of those relationships. Now this is a worldview, but I've evolved to this worldview going through the rest. Seeing through models like spiral dynamics, I can see how I came from a dualistic framework, but more rational, reductioning everything into, say, an atom, to seeing, hey, there's life, there's interiority. I came on into more sensitivity, and to seeing that, well, hey, there's connection in all of being, and that is the background. The background sound has been there all along. So it's kind of experiencing that. Now as you study these models, you begin to see that there are different paradigms, but that itself is a paradigm. Seeing that paradigms evolve and change is a paradigm in itself, a meta-paradigm. That becomes another view, an underlining view. But the view itself is always evolving. We've yet to see what's going to happen next. See, we can say from the beginning, there's consciousness. And it rises into matter. Matter evolves into life and grows into mind. The mind can reflect back on itself. Awareness becomes aware of an awareness. For the first time we are aware, we're aware of the universe that we're in now. We can say the geosphere, the physical realm, revolves into the biosphere. The biosphere comes into the noosphere, the realm of mind, and goes on. See, I was coming 18, I had this crazy experience that changed my life, that I didn't believe anything past my mind. I came to believe in knowing that God exists. Now, when I came to college, I wanted to study neuroscience, because I wanted to see how the brain gave rise to this experience. For that first quarter, I took a class on physics and a class called God, Mind, and Matter. The things I was interested in the most. Mind, the interior, matter, exterior, God, the realm that unified everything. I've read a book in there that influenced me from then on, is Ken Wilber's Brief History of Everything. From then on, he'd be the philosopher I would follow the most. Because he talked about a description from early life, the impulsive irritation of the first cells expanding to the transpersonal realms of consciousness. Talking about how reality evolves through a hierarchy, a holarchy of wholes, parts coming together to create wholes, where then parts create other wholes, like the atom to the molecule to the cell to psychology, to the realm, transpersonal realm of spirituality, and then on. And this can now be characterized as a map. We can show this to each other and help us navigate. See, what a map helps us do is get to where we want. And I believe the most fundamental questions we will ask in our lives is, what do you want? That's probably the hardest question I've ever asked myself. It's continually evolving, layers being peeled back, trying to figure out what that is. What a map helps us do is get there. I believe my purpose, my inspiration, is to not only create a map for myself, but interpret it and give back to the rest of people, humankind, because that's the most beneficial thing I can do for me and give back to the world. That's something this model like spiral dynamics helps us do. The reason it's a spiral is because not only is it cyclical, coming back around onto itself, but it expands and grows every time. So when you come back to the same place in your growth, you've transcended and included. God, what came before, took it on to another level that had never previously been seen in all of existence. It's creativity itself expanding, realizing what it is, coming forth in a new manifestation that's never been part of creation. This, I believe, is one of the most highest realms of thought humankind's gone through. It itself is the evolution of thought. Thought building onto thought, building onto thought. Thoughts coming together, forming wholes of a new thought, with other wholes coming together, creating a new being, a new thought, as never come into existence before play. Now, this unifies quantum mechanics, spirituality, biology, psychology, philosophy, politics, all of it into one coherent theory. And we call it integral, because it integrates. It takes different realms, inner, outer, collective, singular, into one unifying vision. And that, for me, is a milestone in human species. For the first time, we have done that. It's not yet done. You know, we talk about the higher realms of seeing things as fields. How we talked about, we saw in the book, Living Classroom. Okay? Now, these fields are an actual physical part of experience that you can actually see. Synchronicity, you begin to see it, but not until higher capabilities arise, can you actually see the actual manifestation of these things. It might seem theoretical, but they're experiential. You can feel energy, you can feel people, but were you able to feel them when you're 4, 5, or 10? No, those capabilities weren't yet awakened. It's only go through life, through the development, that you begin to experience these. When you're 5, you can't skip to age 10. You have to go to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. To span out, to feel, to grow into those, because they're blocks that build onto each other. And as you go on, you become more sensitive to things around, more aware, and things are able to arise out of that experience. So, I believe that's going to be my purpose in the presentation, to help people understand these things, to go along, and help us to understand each other, because we're all at different places in our lives. And if I'm able to see myself in you, I'll be able to come better to understand and accept other people where they're at, nurture them, because each stage in the growth of the spiral is very, very important. Thank you.